What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? And we are back with another episode of Muay Thai's Hidden Secrets by Thai Fight. I'm your host, Pontakon P.t.t, and today we continue our journey in search of more knowledge on Thailand's national treasure and one of the world's most recognizable martial art, Muay Thai. So in our last episode, we talked about the distinct styles of Muay Thai: Muay Man, Muay Saw, Muay Khao, Muay Thai, and Muay Phi Mu. That was actually a lot of fun, but I think it's time we moved on to a new topic. So, like most combat sports, Muay Thai has both a structure and a scoring system. The scoring system is there to determine a winner in case the fight doesn't end in a knockout, which is actually one of the best ways a fight can end. But anyways, personally, I don't like it if the fight goes to a scorecard, but there needs to be a system, otherwise it'd all be chaos. Now in conventional Muay Thai, especially at the major stadiums, a fight is divided into 5 rounds of 3 minutes. Now barring a knockout, the fight ends with one of 2 fighters winning by decision or with a draw where there's no winner or loser. But to be honest, this is an antiquated format for such an intense and exciting sport. In this modern era, 5-round fights are also, to put it bluntly, boring. This is where THAIFIGHT and the THAIFIGHT International Boxing Association come into play. The THAIFIGHT International Boxing Association, or TFIBA, drafted the rule set which introduced 3-round Muay Thai fights at THAIFIGHT. Yay to that! So here in THAIFIGHT, it's 3 rounds of 3 minutes. One of the benefits of having 3-round fights is the increased pace. Fighters are encouraged to initiate action quickly, so they come out swinging instead of feeling each other out. You basically see the fighters give it their all in a 3-round fight. Now, if the fight ends in a draw after 3 rounds, a 4th round will be fought to determine the winner. And if it's still a draw after 4 rounds, there will be a 5th round, and so on. Basically, there are no draws in THAIFIGHT. But that's not the only interesting thing about THAIFIGHT. The scoring system, which I recently learned about, can be a little confusing at first look. In its defense, it has also been equally beneficial for both fighters in a fight at THAIFIGHT events. THAIFIGHT scoring system encourages fighters to make good use of their Muay Thai arsenal, be it punches, elbows, knees, or kicks. Whatever works for them. The fighter who lands the most strikes will be awarded the round. However, if the judges deem that both fighters have landed an equal volume of strikes, each fighter is then judged based on the damage inflicted by their strikes. Did they break their opponent's nose? Did they bruise the opponent's eye? Did they cut their opponent? Stuff like that. Now, in conventional Muay Thai, the more dominant fighter automatically gets 10 points in a round, while the less dominant fighter gets 9 points. It's all automatic. A 10-9 round for the more dominant fighter. In the event of a knockdown, it's immediately a 10-8 round for the fighter who scored the knockdown. This can be disadvantages for the knockdown fighter, especially in 3-round fights. However, THAIFIGHT does knockdowns differently. Now, in the event of a knockdown, the fighter who's been knocked down is deducted 1 point, and assuming that's the only knockdown of the round, it's a 10-9 round for the dominant fighter. However, if there are 2 knockdowns on the same fighter in the same round, said fighter gets 2 points deducted and he is left with 8 points. So it's a 10-8 round for the dominant fighter. The purpose of scoring knockdowns as such is so that the scores won't be too far apart, and it gives the knockdown fighter a chance to make a comeback and potentially win the fight. This kind of scoring system also adds to the intensity due to the 3-round format applied to the fights.
ตบซ้ายมาจิ้มแล้วหมัดขวาครับง้างครับโอ้โหซ้ายและขวากระแทกลงไปโอ้ยใจหายใจคว่ำตอนนี้เดือดแล้วครับเอาครับพวกมันใครดีใครโยเขาทีโอ้ดูครับเปิดหน้าเปิดตาแรกกันเลยตอนนี้เอาสิหมัดพร้อมวัตถุนี่ตอนนี้นี่นาทีทองแต่โดนเหมือนกันเอาครับเอาเยอะมาทอหมัดขวาขึ้นมาหมัดขวาหมัดซ้ายตัดกรอบขึ้นคุณแชมป์เอาแล้วโดนเหมือนกัน Once
a fighter's been knocked down once, they can still come back to win on the scorecards. This they can do if they really put a beating on their opponents. I'm talking landing huge punches and connecting on kicks. Really beating the guy to a pulp. If the guy who knocked them down thinks his win is guaranteed, he's gonna have to think again. The judges don't only take knockdowns into consideration. As I said before, they also look at damage inflicted. You don't have to knock down your opponent to win in Thai fight. So there have been some fights in Thai fight that left fans scratching their heads or disputing the outcome. I myself happen to be one of those people who questioned how those fights turned out. But after learning about the Thai fight scoring system, it all began to make sense. Now here are the aforementioned fights. Peng Sitjesairum versus Mohammed Hussein Darodian at Thai Fight Betong 2019. Now if you ask me, this was an uncharacteristic first fight by Peng Nung. But then again, that's probably because he's never let an opponent go past the first round, given his tendency of finishing then. But what's even more uncharacteristic was the fact that he got knocked down early in the first round. Now whether he actually got knocked down or he slipped is up for debate. However, things kind of went downhill from there. He started overcommitting on his punches while leaving himself prone to strikes from Darodian. By the end, both men looked like they'd been in a street fight or gone through war, and both of them were completely gassed. While Peng Nung wasn't looking too sharp himself, it was clear he inflicted the more obvious damage. He hit hard enough to create a lime-sized hematoma under Darodian's right eye. The third round didn't see much action as the fighters were too tired. That's the price you pay for carrying a body that big. And that applies to both men. Anyways, nevertheless, the fight was scored a draw and went into the fourth round. Neither fighter's strikes, despite how few they threw, seemed to carry much impact in the fourth round. But Peng Nung threw more strikes and he was ultimately declared the winner. Thank God.
ใจเย็นๆใจเย็นๆต้นยกโดนไป1 นับแล้วเลยครับกระตุกตัวเสือหรือเปล่ากระตุกตัวเสือหรือเปล่าบอกพูดไม่ทันขาดคำนั้นเต็งหนึ่งขยับเข้าหาตอนมาตลอดโอ้โหดีครับเสือหรือเปล่าครับโดนไป1 นับเต็งหนึ่งแทงเลยหมัดซ้ายครับหมัดขวาเอ้าหมัดซ้ายหมัดขวาโอ้โหมาเป็นชุดเลยครับมาเป็นยาที่ตำนานร้อนขอที่บ้านเธอแล้วครับหมัดซ้ายตามด้วยต่อยางตัดต่อไปชุดแล้วผ่านทีมาอีกทีซ้ายซ้ายโอ้โหยาวๆครับพลิกสวนอึ้งโอ้โหเดียซ้ายทีโอ้โหนี่ดูครับเอาครับคนละทีครับต่างฝ่ายต่างโดนแล้วเอาครับใครที่เขาอยู่เป็นหนึ่งก็โดนบ้างเลยดีชั้นบ้างแล้วครับไปโกง
Petch-Samui versus Amir Nazari at Thai Fight Patong 2019. Petch-Samui started out strong, very strong. Enough so that a guy of his stature was able to score a knockdown on a much taller guy like Amir Nazari. But then he made a grave mistake. He got cocky. Early in the second round, he was maintaining the pace he'd established in the first round. But then he got arrogant and ended up paying for it by eating an elbow from Nazari. That elbow broke his nose, causing it to gush out blood. It was damage that the judges took into account. But perhaps the nail in the coffin was Nazari's high kick that sent Petch-Samui tumbling against the ropes right before the bell sounded. While it didn't count as a knockdown, the judges still factored it as damage inflicted. In the end, Amir Nazari took home the decision victory.
เจอตัวหมัดขวาครับโอ้ยหุบซ้ายครับต้องการผลครับโอ้โหศอกขวาครับเลือดไหลมาครับโอ้โหกำลังเบี้ยวเลยครับโอ้โหเนสซารี่นี่เดินนะเกมหมัด1 2 3ครับแข้งซ้ายครับวิธีการนี่ไม่ต้องตั้งแบบไม่ต้องรู้แต่หัวใจสิงอย่างนี้นะครับนี่ซ้ายสวยครับแข้งซ้ายดีครับแข้งซ้ายดีครับนี่ครับทะลุออกช่องปากครับตอนนี้โอ้ยเจอการคอครับ
An eye-opener for those of you interested in Muay Thai scoring system. I really enjoyed learning all these new facts about how Thai fight and the TFIBA modified and essentially created its own scoring system. It does make for a more fair fight. Just because you get knocked down once doesn't mean the fight's over for you, unless you get counted out. But it does go to show that sometimes you come back stronger after falling, and you can even go on to win the fight. Now, if you like this video, be sure to smash that like button down below. For more videos like this, subscribe to our channel, THAIFIGHT Official, and don't forget to click on the bell button so you know when we've uploaded a new video. You can also like our Facebook page, THAIFIGHT King of Muay Thai, and follow us on Instagram. Links will be provided in the description box down below.